A sharp knife is a safe knife, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you exactly how to take your knives and make them all perfectly safe. Now first I'm going to take you through some of the vocabulary that you need to know before you begin knife sharpening. Second, I'm going to take you through the microscopic view of exactly what happens to the edge of your knife when you sharpen it. Then finally I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process that I use to sharpen all of my knives. When it comes to knife shape, there are two defining attributes. First is the grind, the shape of the blade. Second is the bevel, the shape of the edge. There's several types of grinds that are found on knives. In a cross-sectional view, there's a convex grind, which is a rounded section. There's a flat grind, which is a straight section. And there's a hollow grind, which is this curved inward section. Now each of these has a defined bevel, or an edge. And this edge is what we're worried about sharpening. As you begin to choose a bevel angle, you find yourself with an infinite number of options. You can have extremely shallow angle, which is great at cutting, but as you can see, very delicate. All the way up to a very steep bevel angle, which is very strong, but very hard to cut with. Now this depends upon your intended use and the steel that the knife manufacturer chose. What I suggest for beginners is that you just match the bevel angle that's already on the knife. The final piece of vocabulary is grit. Grit is a measure of the coarseness of each stone that we use. Knife sharpening operates upon the principle of coarse, medium, fine. The coarse stone takes big divots of steel out and quickly reshapes the knife edge to being what you want it to be. Medium stone kind of flattens out those peaks and makes the knife actually somewhat sharp. Then finally we get to the fine stone where we can't even see the divots. This, very slowly, can sharpen the knife to the edge that we desire. As you progress through the knife sharpening process, you may not be able to see what changes are happening with your naked eye. But if we were to look at it with a microscope, you'd find that the coarse stone takes off big divots of steel and leaves the blade with what looks like a sawtoothed edge. This cuts quite well actually, but is very delicate as these teeth tend to bend over. If you have the patience, however, to take it through the coarse, medium, and fine stone for a polish, you'll find that the edge becomes flatter and smoother. This flat, smooth edge cuts just as well, but is very durable. The final thing to consider in the microscopic world of knife sharpening is the way the sharpening technique can affect the bevel. If you use a light and even pressure on both sides and use an even number of strokes per side, you can get an even bevel. If you get impatient and use too much pressure, however, or do an uneven number of strokes per side, you find you'll get an uneven bevel, and this can cause unpredictability, which would ruin the entire point of sharpening your knife in the first place. Now that you understand what happens when you sharpen a knife, it's time to put it into practice. First things first, I get myself comfortable because knife sharpening takes a little while. Second, I protect my table. I have chipboard with rags screwed on top, but anything from cardboard to newspaper will do. Finally, I prepare my stone. I use oil stones, but whatever stone you use, just follow the manufacturer's specifications. The final thing to consider before putting blade to stone is the way you hold the knife. Holding it the way you do when you use it isn't going to work so well, so I suggest a light pencil grip with your left hand guiding the blade along and maintaining a constant bevel angle. As you move the blade along the stone, use the entire stone and only light pressure to maintain a good bevel angle. If you move up to the tip of the knife, maneuver your right hand up slowly and use your left hand to maintain that constant bevel angle all through the duration of the blade. Now is when the coarse, medium, fine process comes into its own. Start with sharpening your knife on your coarse stone, maybe 20 or 30 strokes, and ensure that you get a nice, even, flat bevel throughout. If this is the case, get a piece of softwood like pine and run your knife over an edge. If your knife cuts consistently and cuts a nice little divot, you're ready to move on to your medium stone. Off of your medium stone with another 20 or 30 strokes, you're just flattening that bevel and smoothing it out. So you should now be able to cut a nice smooth cut into the wood, but you should also be able to smoothly cut the end grain into a nice polished edge. If so, you're ready to move on to finishing the blade. Now that your knives are sharp, you're ready to finish up the sharpening process. First, I hone the edge, which is polishing it down to the durable edge that we talked about earlier. For my shop knives, I use an extremely fine oil stone, but for kitchen knives, you'll recognize the circular hone. Follow your manufacturer's specifications, but then ensure you clean off your knife. For kitchen knives, I use soap and water and clean thoroughly. For shop knives, I just wipe it off with a rag. I hope this tutorial has helped you understand the knife sharpening process. And remember, with patience and a light touch, you too can gain a smooth and safe cutting edge.